Tired of your current job? You want to start your own business? Well, you're in luck. Jamie Lee is hosting So You Want to Start a Business, where every Saturday he interviews actual business owners and they'll share their journeys. They'll give you valuable tips and strategies on how to start and grow your own business. Let's see who Jamie has in store for us today on So You Want to Start a Business.
Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for coming into another edition of So You Want to Start a Business. Today we are with Josh Conder from Bardstown, Kentucky. Come to us with Coach Stockdale's approval, I guess you could say. Josh, welcome to the show. Just wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Jamie, thanks for having me, man. My name's Josh Conder here in Bardstown, Kentucky. Kentucky born and raised, been here all my life. Lived in Bardstown all my life. I am the co-owner of Kentucky Straight Apparel Company, and I also am the head wrestling coach at Nelson County High School, as well as an assistant football coach out there in Nelson County.
So how long have you been in the apparel business, or how did you get started in that?
So this is year 13 for me. Came out of high school, had really no idea where life was going to take me. I was thinking about this today, and I graduated from Nelson County in 2008, and they gave us the little test that you take to see what you should go to school for and stuff like that. And I was told I should be a venture capitalist. Would not have worked out well for me. I like some of that stuff. I don't want to do it every day by no means. Graduating high school, knew I wanted to coach. And I had a agriculture teacher, Matthew Simpson, tell me, he said, do not get into teaching just to coach. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, yeah, everybody does it like that. He said, you will have opportunities to coach if you want to coach. And I was like, all right. So kind of steered away from that. I did a lot with lawn and landscape when I was younger, going through college and stuff like that. And had a friend of mine actually reach out to me. I stayed here locally for college, and he was headed up to Lexington, and he had worked for a man that owned like a little sporting goods print shop around here that was just needing some help a couple afternoons a week. And he was like, man, do you want to take this little gig? Because the winter was coming up, so obviously lawn and landscape wasn't going to be year-round here in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, sure. And little did I know, 13 years later, it would kind of develop to where I am now.
So did you get to go into it where they got to mentor you and kind of show you the ropes with it a little bit? Or did you kind of get thrown off the deep end?
I kind of eased into it with him, and then I stepped away as lawn and landscaping really took off. And then the guy who actually does all of our business financials, our accountant, he had reached out to me. My mom worked for him at the time and said, hey, there was a guy in town. He was he had actually moved away. He used to be a principal in town and coached boys basketball. He said, hey, Bev's coming back to town and is starting up a print shop. Like, if you're looking for something, give him a shout. So the man's name was Bev Hart. He coached here in Nelson County for years at Bethlehem High School, as well as he did a little stint out in Nelson County. So went, and at the time didn't really know if I wanted to get into it. I had a customer actually reach out to me with a kind of a big order, and I was like, well, I'm not really doing it anymore. Let me take it to, so stop in Bev's building one day and said, hey, I got this. He's like, well, Jason recommended you to me. He said, well, do you want to get lunch one day? I was like, well, sure. So went and had lunch with Bev, and he was open about 1 week without me, and he actually started the company that we purchased 2 years ago and rebranded out to Kentucky Straight.
Oh, okay. So how did you learn to do the bookkeeping and kind of stuff like that?
Luckily for me, my dad had owned multiple businesses when I was younger. Mom had worked in the field a little bit, and Jason, that does all of our accounting stuff, I had kind of a really personal relationship with him. So I knew right from the get-go, I'm not touching any of this. I'm sending it to Jason, and that's how it's going to be. I think that's something like our situation was kind of different, where we were buying an existing business. And I mean, I'd worked in it for 10 years when it was the Apparel and Awards Factor, and I knew there was a lot of things that needed changed. And Bev was in his 60s, had never been married. Bev was fine 7 days a week going into that place and doing the payroll and stuff like that. I mean, I'm 33, just got married 3 years ago, and I was like, I'm not going to set up from the get-go like this. So I was lucky to have Jason and kind of the relationship with Jason, where I knew that he was my man. He was going to take care of me, and I live and die by it. If something comes across my paper, he's got a great team, and I send it right their way because I'm not dealing with it.
So we talked last week, or last time, with Coach Stockdale, and we kind of talked about the idea of coming into a different situation, something that's existing, and that's pretty much what you did. What was your experience with kind of communicating with the customers that were previously with Bev to kind of come in and say, we still want to keep you around, things might be done differently and stuff, but try to retain those customers?
So luckily for me, where I had been with Bev for so long, I knew pretty much all the customers. I started as Bev's press operator, and then I had moved up kind of where I was just overseeing the day-to-day, take care of ordering everything and stuff like that. So I had a lot of good personal relationships with our customers already. Probably 7 years into working for Bev, I actually had a national company kind of try to pull me away from him. And that had went on for a couple of years. And when it was really getting probably about to happen, COVID kind of hit. And so I'm really, really grateful that I didn't take that jump when COVID, because a lot of those guys were, running wide open as sales reps, and then working mainly off commission, and then COVID shuts the world down, and there's no sports going on, there's no events happening, and it really killed them. So it's wild looking back on it, how much of a blessing it actually was that I did stay with Bev. And with those customers, there was stuff right off the get-go that I knew with some of them had to change. Bev was very much, yes, want to take care of everyone, didn't care if he had to do it. And that's the thing with custom apparel. I joke all the time that the crooked machines have made our life so much more difficult because people are doing small knockoff one things at home, where setting up a 6-color screen print press takes an hour and a half to get that set up to even run that one shirt. So you have difficult conversations sometimes with customers, but at the same time, like going into it with the transition, I was very comfortable that the majority of people were going to stick around with us. And Bev had actually had a few people reach out about inquiring to buy the business while I was working for him. And Bev's biggest thing was he didn't want to sell it to somebody that had no idea what they were getting into. And so that helped a whole lot. Like, we were very much set up for a lot of success based on all the years that Bev had put into the business.
So what about the equipment? I know that with COVID and stuff, a lot of people end up going, I don't guess you necessarily have a lot of close face-to-face, you could do it with masks and stuff. But a lot of people end up going more into online sales and stuff like that. Were you able to do that, or did you, and along with that line, did you look at your equipment and have to put more capital in it to update? Did you feel like you needed to update equipment or anything like that?
So our kind of the day that everything was going to shut down, our governor goes on TV and whatnot. Me and Bev had talked like briefly as I was walking out the door that afternoon. He was like, I don't know what we're going to do. They're saying we're going to close. And I remember I went home, like I finished watching the news, and I was like, we're going to figure this out. So like our biggest thing was is we went and we found the employees we knew we had to have. The screen printing and apparel business actually was listed as a business that could stay open because we print for a lot of first responders. So we probably shouldn't have been open at the time, but we were grateful kind of for the loophole in that. So we did have to close our front end retail area. So we were having to do like curbside drop off and stuff like that. But running our day to day and printing our bulk orders that we did have, we were able to kind of keep rocking and rolling with that. We had actually kind of like back before COVID, Bev was also a coach in the community, and our online sales had kind of generated from us both being coaches, and we absolutely despise doing our team's spirit wear orders. It was the world's, like, you're collecting money, trying to keep it straight, making sure everybody gets what they ordered. You had the old school order forms that you had to go through and calculate. So early on, probably 4 or 5 years before COVID, I said, Bev, if we could get this set up where we launch these team stores online, just have a link, I said, we'll do it all for us. And so we were really set up well with that. Probably the coolest thing looking back on it is we started the Monday after the governor announced everybody's going to shut down. By the middle of the next week, us along with our Chamber of Commerce here in Bardstown had set up a online apparel store that proceeds from that were going to go to essential businesses in town. We did that team store alone was like probably $30,000 or $40,000 over, and they took the money, went to restaurants that had to lay off people, stuff like that, and just gave it to them. And it also kept us keeping our A members of our team able to still come in and work every day as well. So that was that online platform. I mean, we had already had that kind of set up. Equipment wise, we really didn't have to do anything crazy with COVID. When Bev first opened up, we had one manual screen print press. Then we had doubled in probably a year later. So our equipment has kind of scaled with our facility as well. We started off with a one manual press in about 1,000 square foot facility. Then we moved to two manual presses in about a 3,500 square foot facility. Now we're in about a 6,500 square foot facility, and we're down to one huge automatic press that can allow you to set up multiple jobs at a time and go like that. So that's kind of how our equipment has scaled over the timeline of our business. We offer in-house embroidery, and something that's kind of new to the apparel business is called direct-to-film printing. We purchased our direct-to-film printer last summer. I went to 3 different states to look at these because you start seeing them drop on Facebook, and you look at it and say, "This is the best thing since sliced bread. Like it's going to change everything that we do." And I saw them, and I was like, "Who's going to be able to fix these when they break?" So that was where, because it's all good watching these promotional videos and stuff, but. So finally we settled on the one we wanted to purchase, got it in October, and that thing has been running nonstop ever since. But it's also kind of changed when that came in, we started printing less. So then you're having to shuffle your people around. And so even though that machine's been a blessing for us, it hasn't been all great because it's a learning curve for how we're structured now.
So, for a small business owner like myself that's starting getting into it, and like my son starting a landscaping type business, and they first get started out and they want to get shirts and stuff like that, a lot of times you end up having to, like you said, print in bulk, and kind of stock up whenever they want to sell them, and they are the ones to distribute it. Are you set up, or how easy is it for you to get set up for me to be able to do something like integrate you into my website, and then you drop ship stuff whenever I get an order, something to take myself and to give you more business at that, more of a national
Right.
type of sales.
So a lot of our whole e-commerce thing is something that we're still really working on. Like what you're talking about right there is more of on the spot fulfillment, which is not something that we do. There are a lot of companies that you can integrate Shopify stores and stuff like that in, get set up, somebody can purchase a shirt, it goes to the nearest facility that will manufacture that and then ship right out. We really don't do a whole lot of that. Ours are more like campaign setups where we give you a link, it's open for 2 weeks, and then we send it out. I'm hoping within the next year we are set up for more of that fulfillment stuff, not necessarily being done in our facility, but with some other people that are in the industry that stuff can be sent their way. And that's the thing, we're not the best when it comes to that. When we don't have the manpower, we don't have the amount of space we need to hold blank inventory all the time. And I have customers, like to this day, like we run their constant year-round apparel store, and I tell them, like, if you're happy, I'm happy for you, but we can make this so much better, and that's what we work towards. It's trying to make it better for that customer.
In that idea, we kind of talk about, the change from, since COVID for a lot of people going to online and stuff. How important is a good website to you, and the idea of being able to kind of evolve, kind of like into that situation, to be able to, because I guess one of the big things that I always try to learn about and talk about from a small town is something that a small town only has so many customers. And a lot of people are happy with what they get from that so many customers, but you also want to be able to have that ability to expand your customer base at that point. How important do you think that it is to be able to do that, as far as with a good website and a good project, like to be able to evolve like that?
Oh, even after COVID, it's probably one of the most important part of the apparel business. I mean, we were, even before COVID had started, the whole brick and mortars in our business you were seeing them drop left and right. You had a lot of schools that were signing with these big companies that were manufacturing everything out of Dallas, shipping it right to them. So COVID definitely hurt brick and mortar, and brick and mortar was already kind of under attack with it. Our thing is we want to keep the personal aspect of it with it, that, hey, there's coaches, especially at Nelson County where I coach, that are loyal through and through. They call me, and I know how they are. Like, I know it, like Stockdale resistance. As long as it looks good, he rolls with it. Like, I don't have to send him approval for it most of the time. He's got that much trust in me. There's some people that want to be more hands-on with that stuff and kind of, hey, I definitely want it to look like this. But what we have found more with how we're structured online is we'll have somebody purchase something off of the online store and then contacts us out. So, like, for example, we just finished up a huge online sale for some social workers here in the state of Kentucky. I've had probably 7 or 8 people that had just ordered off that store, like, hey, my little boy plays travel baseball. Can you get something set up for him? So it steamrolls from that. And that's, I think, where it takes away. You make it easy where people can set it up, and there's not a whole lot of direct interaction back and forth. I mean, 3 or 4 emails, and I've got your online store set up and ready.
And that's one of the things that I think that, like, is important for like a business like mine, for digital marketing and stuff like that. It can be a global type of business, but to be able to make sure that you have that local base, no matter what else, that keeping that local base and those people that are around you happy and be a part of the community is so important at that point.
Oh yeah. I mean, I look back at like just my life, like where I talked about Jason. I just knew he was my guy. Uh, I knew my lawyer personally. I knew
Hmm.
who we were going to use for all that stuff, and I'm a big like keep it local guy.
Oh yeah.
I really like to see our local schools, our local businesses keep stuff locally.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I understand if there's something that we can't provide them, they've got to go somewhere else.
Right.
And you can't. I think that's the thing with small business. Everybody thinks, well, I have this customer they're really really good. I need to take care of every need they have.
Hmm.
Guess it doesn't work like that. Here's how I handle it. If somebody comes to me and it's something I know we can't do, hey, we're not your person for it, but I've got this guy who I would
Right.
trust to do it if I was looking for something like that.
Because that's a great point you make. The idea of networking, to be able to, and this is kind of like where I brought this type of channel in. It's the idea of business owners supporting business owners. You
Right.
know, I might not have, whenever I go to a business owner, I'm like, what do you need? If I can't provide it, then I'll make sure that I have somebody that I can you to. And it's more of a thing of, you rub my back, I'll rub yours whenever you need it. So if there's somebody that they can't provide something for, then they refer them to me. So I think
Absolutely.
that's a big thing that a lot of people don't really consider. I mean, like a local one, maybe more, but especially as you kind of grow out, sometimes that doesn't get, because everybody kind of considers, the competition factor, I guess you could say. So
Right, right. And I think, sorry, my phone was ringing. I don't know if that came through on the recorder or not. But with us, especially in like decorated apparel, there's so many different types of techniques you can use and stuff like that. And I get stuff time to time that this is above our level of printing in house. But I know people that do that every day and can knock it out of the park. So there's some stuff that we don't do all of our printing in house. We'll lean on those other contacts we have throughout I mean, I've got a guy in Oklahoma that has won like 5 or 6 national awards for screen printing. If I get something that's really difficult, I'll send it to him. Now, when he comes back and tells me it can't be done, I fully trust that it can't be. But he also knows what I want for my customer at the end of the day. Like, you could print pretty much anything on a T-shirt. Are you going to be happy with how it looks in the end? So that and your competitors, obviously, there's people that are closer to me that I'm not going to probably share as much information. But like I said, he's out in Oklahoma. He's not worried about Nelson County high school's team stores that I'm rocking with. So you got to surround yourself with those people, and you got to make an attempt to really reach out, meet them, and build those relationships to be able to lean on each other.
with the idea of competition and stuff like that, what do you feel that your business kind of gives, is a major strength of yours that kind of makes you stand above the competition?
So probably our biggest thing is our turnaround time on pretty much all of our printed stuff in house. We run after approval 10 business days, and we have it done for you. That's by far one of the biggest things that stands out to me with our company. The second, like especially locally, is we have some really really good people in house that have really good reputations, and people just like seeing them. My general manager, she's happy-go-lucky, and people come in and they just want to talk to her sometimes. So, like I said, it really boils back to relationships and knowing. I mean, I'm a business owner as well as coach at Nelson County, but I want all of our local schools to do great. And I'm genuinely happy for them guys. Now, when it comes time to compete, we put that aside and we compete, and guess what? It's over with, and we go on about it. But like I say, our local athletes, like we really take even when it's not the school I coach, like we love seeing those teams that we helped out with that year have success. And for us, I think that's what really is you're putting a face with it a lot of times when you are ordering from us. And like our social media, we try to give shout outs as much as we can. It's something we're working on more every day. But just taking pride in that stuff.
Along with that, then, what do you consider more of the weaknesses that you've kind of identified that you would like to work on to get to that next level?
Gotcha. So obviously the fulfillment, like what you were kind of talking about, that's something that I've dove into for the last couple months and just kind of set up for it. I'm just a little hesitant to pull the trigger. Secondly is we're growing in our apparel industry where there's a lot of people that also do apparel that are equipment providers. So we're constantly adding, like we just got set up to be able to get our game balls for our high school athletics here the other day.
Okay.
So we're adding some of that stuff along with the apparel side of it. We are kind of looking at some of the bigger companies and some of the deals that they kind of cut with local schools and trying to structure if that's a direction we want to go with. Obviously our social media, we're working on that as well as our front end, trying to get our retail area going. Actually on the 9th will be 2 weeks, or 2 years of ownership of Kentucky Straight Apparel. And we are having our ribbon cutting actually 2 weeks later because we did a whole renovation of the facility when we purchased it. So we're getting our retail area ready to rock and roll with new designs and stuff like that out there. So I mean, we try to get better every day at the end of it. And we've got longer term goals that we want to work on. Then we got shorter term that, hey, we can in a couple of weeks probably have this ironed out.
You gotta always be evolving in this business. So.
Absolutely.
So what percentage do you kind of see yourself as far as Nelson County athletics and stuff like that compared to, say, a business or other printing?
Gotcha. So we're probably set up roughly around 60% school-based, 40% to industries and businesses that we print for and take care of. Our online stuff is majority is all school-based, but we still have our couple customers that we do those ongoing online stores for that we take care of. That's our big goal for 2023 is to kind of get into the more corporate base. We're obviously here in Kentucky. There's bourbon everywhere, and really trying the wall behind me. We're really making strides in that, working with customers, and getting more into that industry. And that's an industry we probably want to be in more actually, because with schools, those logos are changing every year and stuff like that. The corporate world, they don't change as much. So that's where you're getting your big reorders for 2,000 or 3,000 shirts of the same thing that you did last year, which is click, and it's in production.
With that, it's like a football team kind of during their break or off week. A lot of times you hear the term self-scout. You know, you kind of have to see what your business plan kind of works like and evolve and stuff like that. And one of those is opportunities. How much do you kind of like do in research and stuff like that to see what the other opportunities are that you can evolve in, or do they kind of just pretty much come with you as you go in with business?
So our kind of looking at how Bev had the business set up, there's a whole lot I took away that was really, really great from Bev, but there was also some things that once you really dive into it, you need to work on. So we're 2 years into this. So now we have 2 years of data really looking at how we need to change and evolve. So that was kind of our biggest thing at the turn of this year is we knew we were coming up on 2 years. We knew we had really good data of one whole year where we were the owners of it. And a lot with me comes into the sports, like rooted in Nelson County High School. I'm really, really close to a lot of those people. So they'll have something come up like, hey, can you get this? And it's something I may never have been asked about that gives me the opportunity, hey, I can dive into this and learn if I can take care of them or not. Now sometimes that happens at 12 o'clock at night when you get home after practice trying to take care of somebody, but it gives me a chance to get better and learn more about some stuff too, like diving into the game balls. When I got my pricing from Spalding, I was like, you all make this many kinds of basketballs, it's kind of crazy to me. So, I mean, learning that stuff and having people, like obviously the way I approach those coaches at Nelson County, where I have such a personal relationship with them, is a little bit different than if I had a new coach that I knew nothing about. So like they'll ask me, like, I don't know, but let me look into that for you, and I'll see if I can do it.
And evolving with you kind of talking about your coaching, I will tell you, I went to Campbellsville, and the first thing they asked me whenever I went to my advisor was, do I want my teaching certificate? And I just kind of laughed. I'm like, no. Like, I was like you, I wanted to coach, but I'm like, I can't go down the teaching route. I don't have that much patience. So totally understand that part. But how do you feel as far as, there's a lot of people that end up kind of like me and you have, where you have your work and then you go and you volunteer or you get another job on the side to coach. How do you balance that out as far as being able to make a equal priority to both of to both of those at that point?
So I'm very blessed. Even when I worked for Bev, where Bev saw the importance of coaching high school athletics, I just wrapped up year 10 as a wrestling coach. So I'd been in Nelson County quite a bit longer than Phil, and for me, it's really, I try to cram my work day in the morning. Like, I'm very, very structured. My morning, this is what it goes. You know what? 3 o'clock, I kind of turn it off for a little bit. That email can sit for a few. I'm not too worried about it. When I knew we were going to purchase the Apparel and Awards Factory and then brand out to Kentucky Straight, I kind of, in the back of my mind, was like, all right, I need to get my wrestling program to a point where I can step away from it. Like, I think this is going to get too big. And I had went back and forth with that a little bit. And then, like I said, I got married in 2020 and had actually had a conversation about a year ago with my wife. And I was like, when we start having a family and stuff, I'll be able to, I'll put the coaching hat away. And she looked right at me very, very quickly. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've already got it in my head that my kids are going to grow up around this. And I was like, well, I guess I'm in it for the long haul then. And with wrestling, with the winter sport, like I said, I have way more involvement with that. Phil keeps us busy with football, no doubt. But if something crazy happens, I can step away for a day and take care of what I need to. And I also have now a good assistant core around me in wrestling. If something crazy was to pop up, that a day they're not going to miss me. But it's very stressful. I mean, me and my wife joke all the time about it, that she's got a husband a couple months out of the year, it feels like. But it's also, we absolutely love that lifestyle. I mean, she's probably closer to some of the kids than I am. And just absolutely, I mean, it's just what we do.
And it's one of those things,
it works.
I started coaching my son's football team whenever he was in 4th grade, and he's a sophomore now, and to see the way that those kids have grown up and stuff like that, it kind of makes you like a proud papa sometimes, like I said, to Stockdale. And along with that, you kind of talk about you make your football and your wrestling and stuff like that something that you can get somebody else kind of delegate to at that point. How important is it to also make sure that you have somebody in your business that whenever you go to do something else, even if it's just to go out to do a sales call or anything else, to know that you've trained the proper people in the best way possible to know that the business is running properly whenever that you don't have to watch it 24/7.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably looking at like the last 2 years, that's where I've grown the most. When we purchased the business, I was very I kind of learned only from Bev, and my my business partner, she's done a really, really good job of letting me to let go of things. And we've invested in some of our key people that have really taken off. Like the guy who runs our screen printing press for us, I actually coached him in high school. He kind of fell into my lap as an employee. And I walked out of the back yesterday. I was like, he's a better screen printer than I ever was. And guess what? That's awesome. Because at the end of the day, he absolutely loves running that press back there every day, where I want to be more face-to-face and involved with people every day. We brought in our general manager in November, and she's done a killer job with running the day-to-day. I'm probably not the best person day-to-day managing people, but I'm really, really good in the sales world. And I think that's the thing a lot of business owners need to take in consideration very, very early, is at the end of the day, what do you really want to do? Now, you have to keep in mind, hey, you might still have to pick up the slack sometimes, but what is it that you want to do on a daily, and how can you make it work with your business? And if it's finding the right person to step into a role to handle the day-to-day, then by all means, try to invest your time in trying to find that person.
Kind of goes into the self-scouting side of things.
Yes.
Of what do I do best, and what can I either develop or entrust something else to delegate to somebody else that might do it better, like you said.
And don't be afraid to let that stuff go. Like, we joke all the time. When we first purchased it, we print our screen print film on transparencies. And so when we purchased the business, I moved all this big printer into my office where I could be printing these transparencies every day. And my business partner was like, why do you need that? I was like, well, this is kind of like and I kept making excuses for why I needed to do this. Now I can't tell you the last time I touched that thing.
Absolutely.
It's a little win that now I look at it today, like, I don't have to worry about that anymore because somebody's got that handled. Now, every once in a while, I'll get a phone call, hey, that thing's acting up, can you come look at it? And then that's when I step in and do what I need to do.
So what do you see, like yourself, in 5 years going forward, as far as the coaching work balance and stuff like that? Do you kind of see it going the same way, or do you kind of see developing more work? Or
I think it definitely probably stayed the same. Me and Phil talked about it. As long as he's there, I'm probably going to be there. It was funny, right before I got married is when he came in, actually stopped by the store one day and asked me to be on his staff, which when he had applied for the job, me being the wrestling coach, they called and were like, hey, do you know him? He coached some middle school wrestling a few years ago. And I was like, no, but if he did that, I said, let's just go ahead and hire the guy. And they're like, well, you don't know him. You can't. I was like, if he coached wrestling, I said, you think he knows football? Let's do this. Because I had been wanted to marry programs together and to help our members out. And so finally gets the job, comes in. I was like, as much as I just want to say yes to you right now, I said, I am getting married in a couple months. I said, I need to go home and talk it over with her. And my wife's super supportive of it. And when I went and I told her, because I'm more director of operations guy, so our camera equipments and stuff like that, I was like, I don't have to be there every day. She's like, yeah, but you're going to be. I was like, no, I swear, like Phil. And she said, I'm not saying that he's saying you don't have to be there every day. I'm saying I know how you work and you're going to be there every day. And I was like, yeah, you probably got a point. So,
I got to tell you, like, whenever I was in football, the wrestling, there's nothing better for the off season for football players than wrestling. I mean, we didn't have a wrestling team, but we still wrestled freestyle and stuff like that, just to condition and the everything that goes along with wrestling for football. So, yeah, to marry those two together, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the biggest thing, and kind of a quote from Phil. I've never seen a football player wrestle and not come back a better football player.
Absolutely.
But I've seen a football player not wrestle and come back a worse football player. And like we had made a really big. I was making before Phil got hired, like that's what we really need to do to get our numbers turned around. And then he came in, I think we had roughly like 26 of our football kids were on the wrestling mat last year. So
yeah, I tell you, I've spent I spent a couple of years with Stockdale, and yeah, as far as football player in Campbellsville, not a better guy. There's a lot of guys from Campbellsville that
No, no.
they're good guys. So,
Yeah.
so with that,
Without,
what do you want people to know about your business or promote yourself to everybody listening, as far as what you got going on, where they should go to support you, stuff like that.
Gotcha. So basically, you can reach out to us on Twitter or via email. Our Twitter handles at KYStraight. Um, and then, of course, my email is josh.conder@kystraightapparel.com. You can call our landline there if you look us up online, and I think you press number 4 and you'll get me directly. And we're here to help everybody out. We know we got smaller businesses that they can't afford the big bulk orders, but we've got, like I said, now our direct-to-film printer printing that one shirt's not a big issue for us anymore. And that's what we try to help that's the biggest thing, because I always look at it, I don't know what that one shirt might do for us later down the road.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I've had that. I've helped people out with like 1 or 2 piece orders, and the next thing you know, you got a 500 piece order from them. So that's how we try to take care of everybody in that mindset.
And so everybody, I want you to be able to support him and myself. Make sure that you comment, subscribe, so that you can listen to more great business owners, and share this with everybody to let them know. And with that, the last thing that I want to ask you is, as somebody starting out as a first-time business owner, even if a first-time apparel business owner, what's your best advice for them?
My biggest piece of advice probably is to quickly understand that nobody in your organization is going to care about it as much as you do as the owner, and you should never expect them to. That for me is where it goes. I don't. You'll have really, really good employees that want to learn and grow and stuff like that, but always realize that nobody's going to care about it as much as you do, and nobody's going to take it as personally when it's bad as you are. And when things are good, they're really, really good. When things are kind of rocky, it feels like somebody's just putting your head underwater. And guess what? That too will pass. The really, really bad times, they pass. The really, really good times, they pass. So just try to, instead of spiking up and down every day, just try to stay level key and stay consistent in what you're doing. If you have that in your back of mind, what your end goal is, and how you want to take care of customers or anything, just stay even playing with it, and don't get too emotionally caught up when you lose a bid or something like that, because guess what, one will probably fall in your lap that you didn't think you were going to get. And then my other one that I always say is, do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Respect people's time when it comes to that. And I mean, there are people that are counting on you. If you say you're going to get it done tomorrow, get it done tomorrow, or at least get with them and say, this is what's got me held up. And it better not be because you got busy with somebody else.
Absolutely.
But just be honest with people. At the end of the day, people respect that more than any end product that you can put out for them.
Great advice. That kind of matches up. I was watching a YouTube video the other day with Tom Hanks, and he said that was the best phrase to always remember is, this too shall pass.
Yeah,
The good times, this too shall pass. The bad times, this too shall pass. Great advice. Appreciate your time. I think it's a great interview and great information for everybody. I will include all your information in the description so everybody can contact you. And I definitely appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll have you back sometime soon.
Sounds good, Jamie. Shoot me your address and shirt size, and I'll get you up some swag there too.
Sounds good. I appreciate your time.
All right, appreciate it, Jamie.
All right, thanks, Josh.